His forearm crushed her windpipe. She tapped once, twice, 5 times. He didn't stop. Staff Sergeant Derek Vance held that choke for 9 seconds past regulation while 200 people watched and did nothing. Eleanor McCord was 54 years old, gray hair, reading glasses, the kind of woman young Marines called grandma when they thought she couldn't hear. But what Vance didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this grandmother had spent 30 years as a Navy SEAL sniper. 847 confirmed kills. And she had never, not once in her entire life, forgotten a target. If you want to see how this satisfying story ends, subscribe to the channel and follow along until the end. Drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see just how far this story travels. The forearm pressed harder. Eleanor McCord felt the cartilage in her throat compress, felt the blood supply to her brain slow to a trickle, felt the edges of her vision blur and darken like someone was pulling a hood over her head. She tapped. Once, twice, 3 times. The universal signal. The sacred covenant of combat training. You tap, your opponent releases. That's the rule. That's the regulation. That's what separates training from assault. Vance didn't release. His breath was hot against her ear. His forearm was a steel bar across her windpipe. His voice was a whisper that only she could hear. What's wrong, Grandma? Can't breathe. 4 taps. 5. Her fingers were getting weaker. Around them, the training facility continued its normal rhythm. Instructors shouting, bodies hitting mats, the sharp crack of focus mitts. Nobody was watching. Nobody cared. Just another pair of trainees working through a grappling drill. Except Eleanor wasn't a trainee. And this wasn't a drill. Her left hand found his wrist. She knew 17 different techniques to break this hold. 17 ways she'd learned over 30 years of SEAL training. 17 methods she'd used in actual combat to keep herself alive. None of them worked when you were 54 years old and your opponent was 36 and outweighed you by 80 pounds. Her tap became a claw. Weak, desperate, scraping against his forearm like a dying animal. Shh, Vance whispered. Almost there. Just a little longer. Her vision tunneled. The world became a distant echo. And then nothing. When Eleanor regained consciousness, she was flat on her back on the mat. Fluorescent lights blazed above her. A circle of faces stared down at her. Someone was calling her name. Commander McCord! Commander McCord, can you hear me? She blinked. Once. Twice. The face came into focus. Young. Female. Worried. She's coming around. Give her space. Eleanor sat up. Too fast. The world spun and she nearly went back down. A hand steadied her shoulder. Easy, ma'am. Take your time. She touched her throat. The pain was immediate. Sharp. Like someone had taken sandpaper to her trachea. When she swallowed, it felt like glass. What happened? The voice asking was male. Distant. Unconcerned. She passed out during the drill. That was Vance. Standing at the edge of the circle, arms crossed, smiling. Guess the conditioning program is a bit much for some people. Laughter. Scattered. Nervous. Eleanor looked at him. Really looked at him. Staff Sergeant Derek Vance, 36 years old. 6'2", 220 pounds of Marine Raider muscle. Bronze Star recipient. 2 tours in Afghanistan, the kind of face that belonged on a recruitment poster, the kind of face that smiled while choking an older woman unconscious. You held past my tap. Her voice was a rasp, barely audible. Vance shrugged. Did I? Must have missed it. Things get intense in combat conditioning. That's kind of the point. I tapped 5 times. If you say so. He turned to address the circle. All right, show's over. Back to your stations. Commander McCord just needs a minute to catch her breath. The circle dispersed. Bodies returned to their drills. The rhythm of the facility resumed its normal tempo. Eleanor remained on the mat. Her throat was already darkening. She could feel the bruise spreading beneath her skin, purple and black and ugly, Evidence of what had really happened. Evidence that would be gone in 2 weeks. A hand appeared in front of her face. Young. Female. The same woman who had called her name. "Ma'am, can I help you up?" Eleanor took the hand, let herself be pulled to her feet. "Thank you, Corporal." Delacroix. Jesse Delacroix. The name registered somewhere in the back of Eleanor's mind. Important. She filed it away for later. "Thank you, Corporal Delacroix." "Ma'am, your throat?" Jesse's voice dropped to a whisper. That wasn't right. What he did, that wasn't training. Eleanor met the young woman's eyes, saw fear there. Real fear, the kind that came from experience. "No," Eleanor said quietly. "It wasn't. I should report it. I could tell someone what I saw." "Did you see it? Did you see him hold past the tap?" Jesse's eyes dropped. I wasn't watching the whole time. I heard you gasping. When I looked over, you saw me unconscious on the mat." "Yes, ma'am." "And Vance standing over me, smiling." Jessie nodded. Her hands were trembling. Eleanor touched the young woman's arm, gentle, reassuring. "It's all right, Corporal. I appreciate your concern." "Ma'am, Jessie leaned closer. Her voice was barely a breath. "He did the same thing to me. 3 months ago. Exact same hold. Held it for almost 10 seconds past my tap. I filed a complaint. It disappeared. 2 days later, I was marked for remedial training." Eleanor's stomach tightened. Remedial training. Extra sessions. After hours. Just me and him on the mats. Jesse's voice cracked. "I didn't go. Claimed a family emergency. Stayed off base for a week. When I came back, they acted like nothing happened. The complaint was gone. My file was clean. And Vance," she shuddered. "Vance just smiled at me. Like he was waiting." "Has he touched you since?" "No, ma'am. But he watches. Every day. Waiting for me to slip up. Waiting for another chance." Eleanor felt the pieces clicking together. The pattern emerging from the chaos. This wasn't random. This wasn't one bad actor. This was systematic. "How many others?" she asked quietly. Jessie shook her head. "I don't know. People don't talk about it. They're too scared. But I've heard whispers, rumors, at least 6, maybe more. And none of them filed complaints. One did, Corporal Reyes. He was transferred out the next week. Officially, it was for a better opportunity. But everyone knew. Everyone understood the message." Eleanor looked across the training floor. Vance was demonstrating a throw to a group of young Marines, laughing, joking. The perfect image of a confident, capable instructor. The perfect mask for a predator. "Corporal Delacroix," Eleanor said, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to say doesn't leave this conversation. Do you understand?" Jessie nodded. "I'm not here for compliance oversight. I'm here because of a man named Samuel Olvera. Master Sergeant. Combat instructor. Died 6 weeks ago in what the official report called a training accident." Jessie's face went pale. "I knew him, Master Sergeant Olvera. He was different. Kind. He actually cared about the trainees." "He was my student," Eleanor said. "I trained him for 15 years. Watched him become one of the best instructors in the Navy. He was investigating this program when he died." Investigating? The abuse, the cover-ups, the pattern of violence disguised as training. Eleanor's voice hardened. "Someone killed him for what he found, and I'm going to find out who." Jessie stared at her. The fear was still there, but something else was emerging. Something like hope. "Ma'am, if you need help, if you need someone to testify." "Not yet. When I need you, I'll find you. Until then, keep your head down. Do your job. Don't give Vance any excuse to single you out." "Yes, ma'am." "And Corporal," Eleanor met her eyes, "don't trust anyone. Not the instructors, not the officers, not even the chaplain. There's a reason complaints disappear. There's a reason witnesses go quiet. Someone in this facility is protecting Vance. Someone with enough juice to make problems vanish. Jesse nodded, swallowed hard. One more thing. Eleanor glanced around. No one was watching. Do you know where Master Sergeant Olvera kept his personal effects? His locker, his office, anything. Building C, second floor. Locker 247. They cleaned it out after he died, but Jesse hesitated. He had a hiding spot, behind the false panel in the locker. We all knew about it. It's where he kept his personal notes, the stuff he didn't want in the official files. Eleanor felt a spark of hope. The first one in 6 weeks. Thank you, Corporal. You've been more helpful than you know. Jesse nodded, started to walk away, then stopped. Ma'am, be careful. Master Sergeant Olvera was careful too. And look what happened to him. She was gone before Eleanor could respond. The next hour was torture. Eleanor completed the mandatory post-incident medical check. Superficial contusions, no structural damage, cleared for continued participation in the training program. The corpsman who examined her was young, efficient, and completely indifferent to the obvious signs of assault. These bruises are consistent with aggressive training, he noted. Combat conditioning can be intense. Are you sure you're up for this program, Commander? Eleanor smiled. It hurt. I'm sure, Corpsman. Thank you for your concern. She didn't report the incident, didn't file a complaint, didn't make any noise at all. Let them think she was scared. Let them think she was broken. Let them think the old lady had learned her lesson. That was exactly what she wanted them to think. At 2200 hours, when the facility had emptied and the lights in the administrative wing had gone dark, Eleanor made her move. Building C was a converted barracks. 2 stories of institutional concrete and flickering fluorescent lights. The kind of building that had probably been built in the 1960s and hadn't been properly renovated since. She found locker 247 on the 2nd floor. Standard military storage. Combination lock. Empty, according to the official inventory. Eleanor wasn't interested in the official inventory. She ran her fingers along the interior walls, found the seam where the metal didn't quite align, applied pressure at 3 specific points. The false panel clicked open. Inside was a manila envelope, thick, heavy, sealed with tape. Eleanor opened it. Inside were photographs, documents, handwritten notes, a USB drive, and a letter addressed to her. She recognized Sam's handwriting immediately. Ellie, if you're reading this, then the worst has happened. I'm sorry I couldn't finish what I started. The USB drive contains everything. Video recordings, audio files, medical records, incident reports that were supposed to be destroyed, 12 trainees over 4 years, 3 deaths ruled accidental, all connected to one man, Staff Sergeant Derek Vance. But Vance isn't working alone. Someone is protecting him. Someone with enough rank to make investigations disappear. I was getting close to identifying them when, well, if you're reading this, you know how that sentence ends. The evidence on this drive is enough to convict Vance of multiple counts of assault, but it's not enough to bring down whoever is covering for him. You'll need more. You'll need to catch them in the act. Be careful, Ellie. These people killed me to protect their secrets. They won't hesitate to do the same to you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to see this through. I know you will. You're the best Ellie. You always were. Sam. Eleanor read the letter twice, then a 3rd time. Her hands were steady. Her breath was even. Years of operational discipline kept everything locked down tight. But inside, something cold and fierce was unfurling. The kind of feeling she hadn't felt since her last combat deployment. The kind of feeling that had made her one of the deadliest snipers in SEAL history. Sam was dead. They had killed him. And now they thought they could do the same to her. They were wrong. She tucked the envelope inside her jacket, made sure the false panel was secure, left Building C exactly as she had found it. Tomorrow she would begin her real mission. Tonight, she would plan. The phone call came at midnight. Eleanor was in her quarters, the contents of Sam's envelope spread across her bed when her secure line buzzed. She answered on the 2nd ring. McCord, Commander McCord. The voice was female, authoritative, familiar. This is Admiral Catherine Reyes. I trust you've had an eventful first day. You could say that, Admiral. I heard about the incident on the training floor. Staff Sergeant Vance is claiming it was a training mishap, says you failed to tap clearly. I tapped 5 times, Admiral. He held for 9 seconds past regulation. A pause. I believe you. Unfortunately, belief isn't evidence. I'm aware of that. Did you find what Olvera left behind? Eleanor hesitated. The line was secure, but secure didn't mean safe. In this facility, she wasn't sure anything was safe. Yes. And he documented everything. 12 victims, 3 deaths, all connected to Vance. But not who's protecting him. Not yet. Sam was close, but... Eleanor glanced at the letter. He ran out of time. Another pause. Longer this time. Commander, I need to be honest with you. The reason I recruited you for this mission wasn't just because of your connection to Olvera. It was because of what you represent. I'm not sure I follow, Admiral. You're 54 years old, female. A decorated veteran, yes, but on paper you look like exactly what they expect. An aging officer on the downslope of her career assigned to compliance oversight as a final posting before retirement. Non-threatening, easily dismissed. Eleanor smiled despite herself. You wanted them to underestimate me. I wanted them to not see you coming. Was I wrong? No, Admiral, you weren't wrong. Good. Then let me give you some additional intelligence. The man protecting Vance is Captain Marcus Shaw. He was Vance's commanding officer in Afghanistan. Mara Offensive 2010. They went through hell together. Shaw's a rising star fast-tracking toward Admiral. Vance is his proof of concept for aggressive combat conditioning. So if Vance goes down, Shaw's philosophy goes with him. His career, his influence, everything he's built. Reyes's voice hardened. Shaw will do anything to protect Vance. He's already buried 3 investigations. He had Olvera killed. Don't ever forget that, Commander. I won't, Admiral. What's your plan? Eleanor looked at the photographs spread across her bed. Young Marines. Bruised throats. Frightened eyes. Sam's face among them smiling in an old personnel photo. Vance thinks I'm scared. He thinks the old lady learned her lesson. I'm going to let him keep thinking that while I gather evidence. Find witnesses willing to testify. Build a case so airtight that even Shaw can't bury it. That could take weeks, months. I'm patient. You're also in danger. Every day you stay in that facility is another day they could decide you're a threat. Then I'll have to be convincing. Reyes was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Olvera trusted you. He told me that if anything happened to him, you were the one person who could finish what he started. Eleanor felt the words like a physical weight. The grief she'd been holding at bay threatened to break through. I won't let him down, Admiral. I know you won't. I'll be monitoring from here. If you need extraction, if the situation becomes untenable, use the emergency protocol. Don't be a hero, Commander. Dead investigators don't bring anyone to justice. Understood. And Commander, watch your back. Shaw has eyes everywhere. Trust no one. The line went dead. Eleanor set down the phone, looked at Sam's letter one more time. Be careful, Ellie. These people killed me to protect their secrets. She wasn't going to be careful. She was going to be precise. There was a difference. The next morning, Eleanor arrived at the training facility at 05:30. Early. Before most of the staff. Before Vance. Before Shaw. She needed to establish a pattern. The eager compliance officer. The dedicated professional. The woman so committed to her job that she arrived before sunrise and stayed after dark. The kind of woman who posed no threat at all. She was reviewing incident reports in the administrative office when the door opened. Captain Marcus Shaw stood in the doorway. Tall, silver-haired, the kind of weathered handsomeness that came from 30 years of military service. He wore his authority like a well-fitted uniform. Commander McCord, he smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. You're here early. Protocol review waits for no one, Captain. Indeed. He stepped into the office, closed the door behind him. I heard about yesterday's incident. Quite a welcome to Camp Pendleton. Eleanor touched her throat reflexively. The bruises were darker now, visible, unmistakable. Training accidents happen. They do. Shaw sat down across from her. His movements were casual, relaxed, the posture of a man who owned this space. Staff Sergeant Vance is one of our best instructors. Intense, yes, but effective. His trainees have some of the highest combat readiness scores in the Pacific Fleet. I'm sure they do. I'd hate to see a misunderstanding damage his career. Vance is valuable, irreplaceable, really. Eleanor met Shaw's gaze, held it. Captain, I'm here for compliance oversight. If all training exercises are conducted according to regulation, there won't be any problems. And if they're not, then I document the violations and submit my report through proper channels. Shaw leaned back, studied her. His eyes were the color of cold steel. Proper channels. Yes, that's very by the book, Commander. He paused. Did you know Master Sergeant Olvera? The question was a trap. Eleanor recognized it immediately. We served together briefly, years ago, different commands. Tragic what happened to him. Training accident, equipment failure during a fast rope exercise. Shaw shook his head. 30 years in the Navy, and he's taken down by a faulty harness. Life is fragile, Commander, even for the best of us. It is, Captain. Shaw stood, brushed invisible lint from his uniform. I hope you enjoy your time at Camp Pendleton, Commander. The facility is designed for young, aggressive operators. It can be challenging for veterans of your experience level. I appreciate your concern, Captain. Just looking out for my people. He moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. Oh, and Commander, if you need anything, resources support clarification on procedures. My door is always open. I want your time here to be productive and safe. He was gone before she could respond. Eleanor sat very still for a long moment. Shaw knew, maybe not everything, maybe not the specifics, but he knew she was here for more than compliance oversight. He knew she was connected to Olvera. He knew she was a threat, and he was already moving to neutralize her. The game had begun. Over the next 3 days, Eleanor became invisible. She arrived early. She stayed late. She reviewed incident reports with methodical precision. She observed training sessions from a respectful distance. She asked questions that were procedural, professional, and utterly boring. She became the gray-haired bureaucrat that everyone expected. The staff stopped noticing her. The instructors stopped watching her. Even Vance stopped paying attention, though she caught him smirking at her bruised throat whenever their paths crossed. "How's the voice, Grandma?" he asked during one passing encounter. "Sounding a little rough." "Getting better every day, Staff Sergeant." That's the spirit. Combat conditioning isn't for everyone. No shame in admitting that. I'll keep that in mind. She let him walk away. Let him think he'd won. Meanwhile, she was cataloging everything. Every incident report that mentioned Vance. Every trainee who requested transfer after sessions with him. Every complaint that was filed and then mysteriously withdrawn. The pattern was undeniable. In 4 years, Vance had been the subject of 17 informal complaints. None had ever progressed to formal investigation. The trainees who complained either requested transfers, withdrew their statements, or were discharged for performance issues. 3 trainees had died during Vance's sessions, all ruled accidental. Equipment failure, training mishaps, unfortunate but unavoidable, all wrong. Sam's USB drive contained the truth, medical records that contradicted the official reports, witness statements that had been suppressed, video footage from facility cameras that had supposedly been corrupted during routine maintenance. 3 murders disguised as accidents, and somewhere in the chain of command, someone was covering it all up. On the 4th day, Eleanor made contact with her first witness. Corporal Marcus Webb was 22 years old, Marine, 3 months into the combat conditioning program, and according to Sam's notes, Vance's most recent victim. She found him in the mess hall during off hours, sitting alone, staring at a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking. "Mind if I sit?" Webb looked up. His eyes were hollow, exhausted. "Commander McCord, the compliance officer." "That's me." She sat down across from him. "How are you finding the program, Corporal?" Webb's laugh was bitter. "It's everything they promised, ma'am. Intense, challenging." He paused. "Dangerous." "Dangerous how?" His eyes darted around the mess hall. Empty. They were alone. "Ma'am, I don't know what you're looking for, but I can't help you." "I'm not looking for anything, Corporal. Just doing my job." "Your job?" Webb shook his head. "The last person who did their job around here is dead. Master Sergeant Olvera. You heard about that?" "I heard." "Training accident. That's what they said." Webb leaned closer. His voice dropped. "But I was there that day, Commander. I saw what happened." Eleanor's heart rate spiked. She kept her voice steady. "What did you see?" "The harness didn't fail. It was cut. Clean. Professional. Like someone knew exactly what they were doing." "Did you tell anyone?" "I tried." Webb's hands were shaking. "I tried to file a report. The next day I was called into Captain Shaw's office. He told me I was mistaken. Told me I was young, stressed, that training could play tricks on the mind. Told me to reconsider my statement." "And did you?" "I withdrew the report that afternoon." Webb's voice cracked. "I'm not proud of it, Commander. But Shaw made it clear, real clear. If I kept pushing, my career was over. And if that didn't work..." He swallowed. "He mentioned my sister, by name. Told me she was a nurse at a VA hospital in San Diego. Said it was a dangerous job. Lots of things could go wrong." Eleanor felt cold fury building in her chest. "He threatened your family." "Not in those words. Never in those words. Shaw's too smart for that. But I understood. Everyone understands. Corporal, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest with me." Webb looked at her, really looked at her, seeing past the gray hair and the reading glasses and the compliance officer facade. "What do you want to know? If I could guarantee protection, real protection, would you testify? Would you tell the truth about what happened to Master Sergeant Olvera?" Webb was quiet for a long moment. "Ma'am, with respect, you can't guarantee that. Nobody can. Shaw owns this facility. He's got connections all the way up to NAVC. Anyone who crosses him disappears, transfers, discharges, or worse. I'm not asking if it's safe. I'm asking if you'd do it." Webb met her eyes. Something flickered there. Not hope. Hope had been beaten out of him months ago. But something older, deeper, anger. "Master Sergeant Olvera was a good man. He treated us like people. Like soldiers. Not like punching bags." Webb's jaw tightened. "If you can really bring Shaw down, really end this, then yeah, I'll testify. I'll tell them everything." Eleanor reached across the table, gripped his arm. "Stay alive, Corporal. Stay quiet. When I need you, I'll find you." Webb nodded. She stood to leave. "Commander." She turned back. "Be careful. Shaw's already watching you. I've seen his people tracking your movements. You're not invisible. Not like you think." Eleanor smiled. "Good. Let them watch. Let them think they know what I'm doing." "And what are you doing, really?" She looked at this young Marine. Broken, but not beaten. Scared, but still willing to fight. "I'm building a case, Corporal. Piece by piece, witness by witness. And when I'm finished, Shaw and Vance won't just lose their careers. They'll lose everything." She walked away. Behind her, Marcus Webb sat very still, coffee growing cold, wondering if he'd just witnessed the beginning of the end. That night, Eleanor received a visitor. She was in her quarters cross-referencing Sam's notes with the official incident reports when someone knocked on her door. Soft. Hesitant. She checked the security monitor. Corporal Jesse Delacroix stood in the hallway, looking over her shoulder every few seconds. Eleanor opened the door. "Corporal, it's late." "I know, ma'am. I'm sorry, but I found something. Something you need to see." Eleanor stepped aside. Jesse entered quickly, closing the door behind her. "What is it?" Jesse pulled out a phone, hands shaking. "I've been doing what you said, keeping my head down, watching, listening. She pulled up a video. Tonight I was in the equipment room, restocking training gear. I heard voices in the hallway. Shaw and Vance. She pressed play. The video was dark, shot through a crack in the door, but the audio was clear. Shaw's voice. She's asking questions, talking to Webb, going through old incident reports. Vance. So let me handle it, same way I handled Olvera. Shaw. Not yet, she's got connections. Admiral Reyes recruited her personally. We need to be careful. Vance. Careful isn't my style, Captain. Shaw. I'm aware. That's why I'm telling you to wait. Let her dig. Let her think she's making progress. When she's in deep enough, when she's invested, then we move. Vance. And if she finds the evidence, Shaw, what evidence? Olvera's files were destroyed. The video backups were wiped. The witnesses are either bought or terrified. There's nothing left to find. Vance. She found something. I can see it in her eyes. That old lady is hunting. Shaw. Then we'll have to make sure she doesn't catch anything. A pause. Continue training as normal. Be the perfect instructor. And if McCord does anything at all that gives us cause to remove her from the program, we will. The video ended. Jesse looked at Eleanor, eyes wide with fear. They're planning something, ma'am. Something bad. Eleanor set down the phone. Her face was calm, composed. The face of a sniper calculating windage and distance. Thank you, Corporal. This is exactly what I needed. What are you going to do? What I was always going to do. She looked at Sam's notes, spread across the bed, at the photographs of broken trainees, at the letter from a dead man who had trusted her to finish what he started. I'm going to give them what they want. I'm going to dig deeper, go further, make them think I'm exactly where they want me. But ma'am, they said, I know what they said. Eleanor smiled. It was a cold smile, a hunter's smile. They think they're setting a trap for me. What they don't realize is that I'm setting one for them. Jesse stared at her. You're going to let them come after you. I'm going to give them no choice. And when they do, when they expose themselves trying to silence me, she picked up Sam's letter. Read the final line one more time. You're the best, Ellie. You always were. Then I'll end them. She looked at Jesse, this young woman who had survived Vance's abuse, who had found the courage to bring her evidence, who was risking everything to help. Go back to your quarters, Corporal. Delete that video from your phone. Pretend this conversation never happened. Ma'am, I need you safe. I need you invisible. When the time comes, and it will come soon, I'm going to need you to testify. Not just about what Vance did to you, about everything. The cover-ups, the threats, Shaw's involvement. Jessie straightened. Some of the fear left her eyes, replaced by something harder. I'll be ready, ma'am. I know you will. Jessie left. Eleanor stood alone in her quarters, surrounded by evidence, holding a dead man's letter. They thought she was weak. They thought she was old. They thought they could break her the way they'd broken everyone else. They were about to learn the difference between a target and a sniper. The next morning, Eleanor requested a meeting with Captain Shaw. She made the request through official channels. Formal, professional. The kind of meeting a diligent compliance officer would request after noticing irregularities in the training records. Shaw agreed immediately. His office was on the 3rd floor of the administrative building. Corner location. Windows overlooking the training compound. The kind of office designed to remind everyone who walked through the door exactly who held the power. Shaw gestured to a chair across from his desk. Commander McCord, to what do I owe the pleasure? Eleanor sat, placed a folder on her lap. The folder was thick, but mostly filled with blank pages. Prop. Theater. Captain, I've been reviewing the incident reports from the past 4 years, specifically reports involving Staff Sergeant Vance. Shaw's expression didn't change. And there are 17 informal complaints, all withdrawn before reaching formal investigation. Combat training is intense, Commander. Tempers run high. Sometimes trainees file complaints in the heat of the moment, then reconsider when they've calmed down. I understand that. But 17 complaints against one instructor, with a 100% withdrawal rate. That seems statistically unusual. Unusual, but not unprecedented. Staff Sergeant Vance runs a demanding program. Not everyone is cut out for it. 3 trainees died during his sessions. Shaw's eyes hardened slightly. All ruled accidental. Equipment failure, training mishaps. These things happen in high-intensity environments. They do. Eleanor opened her folder, pretended to review documents. But I noticed something interesting. In each case, the incident report was filed by Staff Sergeant Vance himself. And in each case, the facility's video surveillance was offline for maintenance during the time of death. Silence. Shaw leaned back in his chair. His casual demeanor was slipping just a fraction. "What are you implying, Commander?" "I'm not implying anything, Captain. I'm noting irregularities. That's my job." "Your job is compliance oversight, not criminal investigation." "Is there a reason you're making that distinction, sir?" Shaw stood, moved to the window. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet, controlled, dangerous. "Commander McCord, I'm going to be direct with you. I know why you're here. I know about your connection to Olvera. I know Admiral Reyes recruited you personally for this assignment." Eleanor didn't flinch. "I don't know what you're talking about, Captain." "Don't." Shaw turned. His eyes were cold. "Don't insult my intelligence. You're here to find evidence against my program, against my instructor, against me. I'm here to ensure regulatory compliance. You're here because a dead man asked you to finish what he started." Shaw walked toward her, stopped 2 feet away, looking down. Olvera was a good investigator, thorough, dedicated, but he made a mistake. He thought the rules would protect him. He thought the system would back him up. And the rules only matter when someone enforces them. The system only works when the people in charge want it to work. Shaw smiled. It was a terrible smile. "Out here, Commander, I am the system. I decide what's investigated. I decide what's covered up. I decide who survives this program and who doesn't." Eleanor looked up at him, held his gaze. "Are you threatening me, Captain?" "I'm educating you. There's a difference." He returned to his desk, sat down, the casual authority reasserting itself. "You have 2 choices. You can finish your compliance review, file a report that notes minor procedural irregularities, and return to Norfolk with your career intact. Or you can keep digging, keep asking questions, keep talking to frightened corporals who will never testify against me in any forum that matters." Shaw shrugged. "And then something unfortunate will happen. A training accident, a medical emergency, the kind of tragedy that befalls people who don't understand their limitations." Eleanor stood, slowly, deliberately. "Thank you for your candor, Captain. Is that all you have to say?" She picked up her folder, empty pages rustling. "You're right about one thing. Olvera trusted the rules. He trusted the system." She met Shaw's eyes one final time. "I don't." She walked out. Behind her, Shaw picked up his phone. "It's me. McCord's not backing down. Move to Phase 2. Eleanor spent the rest of the day in plain sight. She reviewed reports, observed training sessions, made small talk with administrative staff. The perfect image of a compliance officer doing her job. But her mind was racing. Shaw had shown his hand, threatened her openly. That meant he was confident. Confident that no one would believe her. Confident that the evidence was gone. Confident that he held all the cards. He was wrong about that last part. At 1800 hours, she returned to her quarters, locked the door, swept the room for surveillance devices, a habit from her operational days. Clear. She pulled out her secure phone, made a call. "Admiral Reyes." "Commander, how's the weather in San Diego?" "Stormy. Shaw made direct threats this afternoon. He knows why I'm here." A pause. "Are you safe?" "For now. He's still trying to intimidate me. Still thinks I'll back down." Eleanor pulled out Sam's USB drive. "Admiral, I have enough evidence to bring charges against Vance for assault and possible homicide. But Shaw is right about one thing. Most of it is circumstantial. Witnesses are scared. Video evidence has been tampered with. I need something more. Something undeniable. What do you have in mind? I need to catch them in the act. Force them to expose themselves publicly in front of witnesses they can't intimidate. That's dangerous, Commander. If you push too hard, they're already planning something. I have reliable intelligence that Shaw is moving to Phase 2, whatever that means. They're not going to let me walk out of here. Silence on the line. Commander, if you need extraction. Not yet. I'm close, Admiral. I can feel it. Shaw's getting sloppy. He threatened me directly instead of working through intermediaries. That means he's scared. He knows I found something even if he doesn't know what. What do you need from me? Eleanor thought about it. About Shaw's confidence. About Vance's arrogance. About the facility's surveillance system and the screens that displayed training footage to hundreds of personnel. I need you to be watching. 3 days from now. I'm going to give Shaw and Vance exactly what they want. I'm going to put myself in a position where they have no choice but to act. You're using yourself as bait. I'm using their arrogance against them. They think I'm a weak old woman. They think I'm an easy target. Let them keep thinking that. Another pause, longer this time. Commander, I've known you for 20 years. I trust your judgment. But if this goes wrong, then at least the evidence dies with me. The USB drive, Sam's notes, everything I've gathered. It's all backed up on a secure server that you can access. Even if they silence me, the truth survives. That's not good enough. I want you to survive. Eleanor smiled. It felt strange on her face after all these days of tension. I'll do my best, Admiral, but either way, Sam's murderers are going down. I made him a promise. I intend to keep it. The line went dead. Eleanor sat in the darkness of her quarters, the USB drive cool in her palm. 3 days. In 3 days, everything would change. She just had to survive long enough to see it happen. The next morning, Eleanor made a calculated mistake. She requested access to the facility's archived surveillance footage, officially to verify the maintenance logs, unofficially to let Shaw know exactly what she was looking for. The request was denied within the hour. The archives are restricted, the administrative clerk told her. Captain Shaw's orders, only authorized personnel. I see. And how does one become authorized? Captain Shaw's approval, ma'am. Eleanor nodded. Thank you, petty officer. She walked away, counted the seconds. By noon, everyone in the facility knew. The compliance officer was digging into the surveillance archives. The compliance officer was asking questions about the 3 accidental deaths. The compliance officer was a threat. By 1400, Vance found her. She was in the equipment room conducting an inventory review when he appeared in the doorway, blocking the exit. Commander McCord, working late again. Eleanor didn't look up from her clipboard. Staff Sergeant, is there something I can help you with? Vance stepped into the room. Let the door close behind him. Actually, I think I can help you. He moved closer. I heard you're interested in surveillance footage, old videos, evidence. I'm interested in regulatory compliance. Sure you are. Vance stopped 3 feet away, close enough to touch, close enough to hurt. Here's the thing, Commander. Those videos don't exist anymore. The maintenance logs that say the cameras were offline, also gone. The witnesses who might have seen something transferred or discharged. That sounds like obstruction of justice, Staff Sergeant. Sounds like smart operational security to me. Vance smiled. Shaw's been doing this for years. He knows how to make problems disappear. Files, evidence, people. He leaned closer. You should have learned your lesson the first time I put you down. But you're stubborn. That's going to get you killed. Eleanor finally looked up, met his eyes. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Leave. Go back to Norfolk. File your little report. Move on with your life. He straightened. Because if you don't, what happened on the mat last week is going to look like a warm-up. He walked out. Eleanor set down her clipboard. Her hands were steady. Good. Let him think she was scared. Let him think the warning had worked. 2 more days. The 48 hours that followed were the longest of Eleanor's life. She continued her facade, the diligent compliance officer, the aging bureaucrat, the harmless old woman with the bruised throat who had learned her place. But behind the scenes, she was preparing. She reviewed Sam's evidence one final time, organized the video files in sequence, wrote detailed summaries of each incident, created backup copies on multiple secure servers. She reached out to her witnesses, Webb, Delacroix, 3 others who had quietly agreed to testify if the evidence was undeniable. She studied the facility's technical infrastructure, the screens in the main training hall, the broadcast system that could display footage to everyone in the compound simultaneously, the security protocols that were supposed to prevent unauthorized access. She found the vulnerabilities. Years ago, when she was still an active operator, she had spent 6 months training with naval intelligence on cyber operations. The skills were old but still functional, and the facility's systems hadn't been updated since 2019. On the final night, she visited the server room. No cameras inside. Shaw's own paranoia had ensured that he didn't want any record of how he manipulated the facility's surveillance. It made her job easier. She installed a small device, wireless transmitter, connected to a secure satellite link, everything she needed to broadcast Sam's evidence to every screen in the compound simultaneously and unblockably. When she was finished, she stood in the darkness of the server room and allowed herself a moment of hope. This would work. It had to work. She left the server room, returned to her quarters, slept for 4 hours. Tomorrow, everything would change. The morning of the demonstration arrived gray and overcast. 600. Eleanor dressed in her training gear, checked her microcameras hidden in the fabric, the same equipment she'd used on covert operations decades ago. Still functional, still recording. 6:01. She arrived at the training facility, nodded to the staff, took her place among the observers. 6:02. The announcement came over the facility's PA system. Attention all personnel. Today's combat proficiency demonstration will begin at 0900. All instructors and trainees are required to attend. Main training hall. Eleanor felt the trap closing. Shaw had planned this. A demonstration, a public display of the program's effectiveness. And somewhere in that schedule she knew was her name. 8:45. She made her way to the main hall. 200 personnel were already assembled. Marines, sailors, instructors, officers, the entire population of the training annex. Shaw stood on the elevated platform at the front of the hall, Vance beside him, both wearing their confidence like armor. "Welcome to the quarterly combat proficiency demonstration," Shaw announced. "Today we'll be showcasing the techniques and conditioning that make this program the finest in the Pacific Fleet." Eleanor watched, waited. "We'll begin with a series of sparring exhibitions, demonstrating proper form intensity and control." Shaw's eyes swept the crowd, found Eleanor, lingered. "Our final demonstration will feature a special match. Commander Nora McCord, our visiting compliance officer, has graciously agreed to participate in a close-quarters combat evaluation." A ripple of murmurs through the crowd. Eleanor hadn't agreed to anything. But she didn't object, didn't protest. This was exactly what she wanted. Commander McCord will be paired with Staff Sergeant Derek Vance. The demonstration will illustrate the program's capacity to adapt training intensity to any skill level. More murmurs. Someone laughed nervously. Shaw smiled. "Let's begin." The next 90 minutes were theater, sparring exhibitions, technique demonstrations, young Marines throwing each other around the mats while instructors provided commentary. The crowd cheered at the appropriate moments. Eleanor watched, studied the screens mounted around the hall, noted the wireless access points, ran through the timing in her head. At 10:30, Shaw called her name. "Commander McCord, you're up." Eleanor walked onto the mat. 200 pairs of eyes followed her. An older woman, gray-streaked hair, reading glasses tucked in her pocket, the bruises on her throat still faintly visible. Vance was already waiting, bouncing on his heels, grinning. "Ready for round 2, Grandma." Eleanor said nothing, took her position. Shaw raised his hand. "Begin." Vance moved immediately, fast, aggressive, a takedown attempt that would have looked textbook to any observer. Eleanor let him have it. She hit the mat hard, let him control the position, let him transition to mount, played the part of the overwhelmed opponent. The crowd was silent, watching, waiting. Vance leaned down, whispered, "Last chance, Commander. Stay down. Pretend to be injured. I'll let you walk out of here." Eleanor looked up at him and smiled. "Do it. Hold as long as you want. Every second is being recorded." Vance's grin faltered, just for a moment. Then he locked in the choke, his forearm pressed against her throat. The same position, the same pressure, the same violation. She tapped. He didn't let go. She tapped again. He held tighter. The crowd shifted. Uncomfortable. Something was wrong. Everyone could see it. Shaw watched from the platform, waiting. Eleanor's vision began to tunnel. Her fingers clawed at Vance's forearm, and then the screens flickered. Every screen in the training hall, every monitor, every display. They all showed the same thing. Video footage. Time-stamped. Clear. Undeniable. Vance choking a trainee unconscious, holding past the tap. The trainee going limp. Another video. Another victim. Same pattern. And another. And another. 12 incidents. 3 deaths. 4 years of abuse. All of it playing across every screen in the facility. The crowd erupted. Vance released her, scrambled backward. His face was white. Shaw was already moving toward the technical booth shouting orders, but the broadcast couldn't be stopped. The device in the server room was transmitting on multiple frequencies, overriding every attempt at shutdown. Eleanor stood, slowly. Her throat was fire. Her vision was still clearing, but she was smiling. "Staff Sergeant Derek Vance," she said, voice raw but audible. "You are under arrest for assault, negligent homicide, and conspiracy to obstruct justice." Military police were already converging. Someone had called them. Maybe Delacroix, maybe Webb. It didn't matter. Shaw tried to reach the exit. 2 MPs blocked his path. "Captain Marcus Shaw, you are also under arrest. For conspiracy to commit murder. For obstruction of justice. For the death of Master Sergeant Samuel Olvera." Shaw's face twisted with rage. "You have no authority. This is my facility. These are my people." "Not anymore, Captain." Eleanor pulled out her phone, showed him the screen. Admiral Catherine Reyes looked back at him via secure video link. She had been watching the entire demonstration. "Captain Shaw, you are hereby relieved of command. Please surrender yourself to military police custody. Any resistance will be noted and will affect your court-martial proceedings." Shaw stared at the screen, at Eleanor, at the chaos erupting around him, and then his shoulders slumped. The fight went out of him. He knew it was over. They took Vance first. He struggled, screamed threats, promised that this wasn't finished, that she hadn't won, that he would find her. The MPs weren't gentle as they dragged him away. Shaw went quietly, broken. The man who had built an empire of abuse and cover-ups reduced to just another prisoner. Eleanor watched them both disappear through the doors. The screens around her continued to play the evidence. The crowd continued to buzz with shock and outrage. Corporal Delacroix appeared at her side. "Ma'am, you did it." Eleanor touched her throat. The bruises throbbed. "We did it, Corporal. All of us who had the courage to speak." "What happens now?" Eleanor looked around the training hall, at the faces of young Marines and sailors who had just witnessed the destruction of everything they'd been told was normal, at the instructors who would have to rebuild a program from the ashes. "Now we change things. The right way. Sam's way." She walked toward the exit. Behind her, on the largest screen in the hall, Sam Olvera's face appeared. An old personnel photo, smiling. The text beneath it read, "Master Sergeant Samuel R. Olvera, 1984 to 2024. He died for the truth." Eleanor paused, looked back at the image. "Mission complete, Sam," she whispered. "I kept my promise." She walked out into the morning light. The air smelled like salt and ocean, and something that might have been justice. The military police van pulled away from the training compound at 11:47 hours, carrying Derek Vance toward the Naval Consolidated Brig in Miramar. Eleanor watched it disappear through the main gate dust, swirling in its wake, and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. She had expected to feel something when this moment came. Triumph, maybe. Or closure. The kind of emotional release that was supposed to follow justice being served. Instead, she felt like a sniper after a kill. Mission complete. Target neutralized. Move to the next objective. Commander McCord! She turned. Master Chief William Reeves stood behind her, a man in his late 50s with the weathered face of someone who had seen too much and said too little. He had been Sam's direct supervisor, one of the few people in the facility who hadn't been corrupted by Shaw's influence. Master Chief? Admiral Reyes is on Secure Line 3. She's asking for you. Eleanor nodded, started walking toward the administrative building. Commander. Reeves fell into step beside her. What you did in there, I've never seen anything like it. I had help, Delacroix, Webb, the others who were willing to testify. That's not what I mean. Reeves stopped, his voice dropped. I knew about Vance. I knew what he was doing. I filed reports, made calls, tried to work through channels. His jaw tightened. Every time Shaw shut me down, every time I backed off, told myself I was being smart, playing the long game, waiting for the right moment. Eleanor looked at him, saw the guilt carved into every line of his face. There's no shame in surviving, Master Chief. There's shame in watching good people suffer while you protect yourself. He met her eyes. Sam came to me 3 days before he died, told me he had evidence, asked for my help. I told him to wait, told him we needed more, told him the timing wasn't right. Eleanor felt the words like a blade between her ribs. You couldn't have known what would happen. I should have known. I should have acted. Reeves pulled something from his pocket. A challenge coin. Worn brass with the seal trident on one side. This was Sam's. They found it in his gear after the accident. I've been carrying it ever since, reminding myself what cowardice costs. He pressed it into her palm. You finished what I should have started, Commander. That coin belongs to you now. Eleanor looked down at the worn metal. Sam's fingers had touched this. Sam's pocket had held this. The weight of it was almost unbearable. Thank you, Master Chief. Don't thank me. I don't deserve it. He stepped back. Admiral Reyes is waiting, and Commander, watch your back. Shaw's in custody, but he has friends. Powerful friends. This isn't over. He walked away. Eleanor stood alone for a moment, Sam's coin heavy in her hand, and wondered if anything would ever feel finished. The secure communications room was buried in the basement of the administrative building. Concrete walls, no windows, the kind of space designed to contain secrets. Eleanor closed the door behind her and activated the terminal. Admiral Catherine Reyes appeared on screen immediately. 62 years old, silver hair cropped short. The first female 4-star admiral in Naval Special Warfare Command. Her face was composed, professional, but Eleanor could see the tension beneath the surface. Commander McCord, outstanding work. Thank you, Admiral. The evidence broadcast has been secured as exhibit material. Vance is in custody. Shaw is being processed. Reyes paused. However, we have a complication. Eleanor's stomach tightened. What kind of complication? Shaw made a phone call before the MPs took his communication devices. 17 seconds. We traced it to a burner phone registered to a shell company in Virginia. Who did he call? We don't know yet. The receiving device was destroyed within minutes of the call. Reyes leaned forward. Commander Shaw didn't build this operation alone. He had protection, resources, the ability to make investigations disappear. That kind of power doesn't come from a captain's rank. You think there's someone above him? I think there's a network, and I think Shaw just warned them that you're coming. Eleanor processed this. The victory she had thought was complete suddenly felt fragile, partial. What do you need me to do? For now, nothing. Stay at Camp Pendleton. Continue the compliance review as cover. I'm sending a team from Naval Criminal Investigative Service to take over the formal investigation. Reyes's eyes hardened. But Eleanor, I need you to understand something. If there is a network protecting people like Shaw and Vance, they now know your name, your face, what you're capable of. I've been a target before, Admiral. Not like this. These aren't enemy combatants operating under rules of engagement. These are people inside our own system. They have access to everything. Personnel files, security clearances, medical records. She paused. They could come at you from angles you'd never see coming. Eleanor thought about Sam. About the training accident that wasn't an accident. About how easily the system had been weaponized against him. I understand the risks, Admiral. Do you? Because I'm offering you a choice. You can take administrative leave. Return to Norfolk. Let NCIS handle the rest of the investigation. You've done enough. More than enough. And if I stay, then you become the tip of the spear. You're the only person who's successfully exposed this operation. You know the facility. You know the players. You have credibility with the witnesses. Reyes's voice softened. But you'll also have a target on your back that won't come off until we root out everyone involved. Eleanor looked at Sam's challenge coin, still clutched in her fist. Sam didn't run. Sam is dead, and his killers are still out there. She met the Admiral's eyes through the screen. I'm not leaving until this is finished. All of it. Reyes nodded slowly. I expected you'd say that. NCIS arrives tomorrow morning. Agent Diana Vasquez will be leading the team. She's good, thorough, and she doesn't scare easily. I look forward to working with her. One more thing, Commander. The preliminary medical report on Vance's previous victims is coming in. The 3 deaths ruled accidental. Reyes's expression darkened. The forensic pathologist found inconsistencies. Injuries that don't match the official cause of death. We're reopening all 3 cases as potential homicides. Eleanor felt a chill run through her. He killed them. That's what the evidence is suggesting. Vance didn't just abuse trainees. He murdered them, and Shaw covered it up. The Admiral's jaw tightened. These people aren't just corrupt, Commander. They're monsters. And somewhere out there, someone is protecting them. The screen went dark. Eleanor sat alone in the concrete room, Sam's coin pressing into her palm, and realized that the mission she thought was ending had only just begun. The knock on her quarters came at 2300 hours. Eleanor had been reviewing files, cross-referencing Shaw's service record with deployment schedules, trying to identify the network of contacts who might be involved. Her eyes burned. Her throat still ached from Vance's chokehold that morning. She checked the security monitor. Corporal Marcus Webb stood in the hallway, looking over his shoulder, nervous. She opened the door. Corporal, it's late. I know, ma'am. I'm sorry, but I heard something. Something you need to know. She stepped aside. Let him in. Closed the door. What is it? Webb was shaking. More than nervous. Terrified. After they took Vance away, I was in the locker room, changing out of my training gear. 2 instructors came in. They didn't know I was there. I was in one of the shower stalls. What did they say? They were talking about you, about the evidence, about how everything was falling apart. Webb swallowed. And then one of them said something that didn't make sense. What? He said Shaw was just the handler. The principal is going to be furious. And the other one said, the principal doesn't get furious. He gets even. Eleanor's blood ran cold. The principal. They used that word. Yes, ma'am. I've never heard it before. I don't know what it means. But Eleanor did. In intelligence circles, a principal was a code term. The person at the top of an operation. The one pulling strings. The one who never appeared in any official documentation. Shaw wasn't the mastermind. He was middle management. Did they say anything else? Just one more thing. Webb's voice cracked. They said the principal has already sent someone to clean up the mess. He looked at her with wide, frightened eyes. Ma'am, they called the person a fixer, said they specialize in making problems disappear. Eleanor's mind raced. A fixer. Coming to Camp Pendleton. Coming for her. When did they say when? No. Just that it's already in motion. That by the time NCIS gets involved, it'll be too late. Eleanor grabbed Webb's shoulders, looked him dead in the eyes. Corporal, listen to me carefully. What you just told me could save lives. But it could also get you killed. Do you understand? He nodded, pale, trembling. I need you to leave this facility tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Do you have somewhere safe you can go? My sister, in San Diego. Go there. Don't use your military ID. Don't contact anyone from the base. Don't tell anyone where you're going. She released him. I'll contact you when it's safe, but until then, you need to disappear." "What about you, ma'am?" Eleanor thought about the fixer, the principal, the network she had just poked with a very sharp stick. "I'll handle it." "But—" "Go corporal, now. Every minute you stay here is another minute of risk." Webb nodded, moved toward the door. Stopped. "Commander, thank you for everything. For actually listening. For actually doing something." His voice broke. No one else did. No one else cared. People cared, Marcus. They were just scared. You weren't. Eleanor thought about all the nights she had lain awake, wondering if she was making a mistake, wondering if she would end up like Sam, wondering if the fear would finally win. "I was terrified, Corporal. Every single day. But being scared isn't the same as being stopped." Webb left. Eleanor locked the door, checked her weapon, began planning for the enemy she couldn't see. The fixer arrived at 0347 hours. Eleanor wasn't asleep. She had been watching the security feeds from her laptop, tracking movement across the facility when she spotted him. A man in civilian clothes, walking through the administrative parking lot, moving with the kind of fluid efficiency that came from years of training, military, former military. The walk was unmistakable. He wasn't supposed to be there. No visitors were cleared for overnight access. The facility was in lockdown following Shaw's arrest. Eleanor watched him approach the administrative building, watched him bypass the main entrance, watched him move toward a service door on the east side. He had a key card. Someone inside the system had given him access. She grabbed her phone, dialed. "Master Chief Reeves." His voice was groggy. "Commander, it's the middle of the night. We have an intruder. East service entrance of the admin building. Male, civilian clothes, military bearing, moving toward the secure wing." Reeves was instantly alert. "I'm on my way. Stay in your quarters." "Negative. I need to know who this is and who sent him." "Commander, if this is the fixer Webb mentioned, then we need to catch him, not scare him off. I'll track him from the security system. You get a team to the admin building. Quiet. No alarms. If he thinks he's been made, he'll disappear." "Understood. 10 minutes. Eleanor ended the call, turned back to her laptop. The intruder had entered the building. She tracked him through the hallway cameras, floor 1, moving toward the stairwell, heading up, toward the secure communications room, toward the servers that held backup copies of all the evidence she had compiled. She grabbed her sidearm, left her quarters, started running. The administrative building was silent at this hour. Emergency lighting cast everything in shades of gray and shadow. Eleanor moved through the corridors with the discipline of 3 decades of SEAL training, footsteps silent, breathing controlled, weapon ready. She reached the stairwell, listened, footsteps above, 2nd floor, moving away from her. She climbed, slowly, carefully, every sense alert for the slightest change in the environment. The 2nd floor hallway was empty, but the door to the server room was ajar. Lights spilled out, blue and white, the glow of monitors. Eleanor approached, pressed herself against the wall beside the door frame, listened. Typing, rapid, someone working at the terminals. She swung into the doorway, weapon raised. "Don't move." The man at the terminal turned slowly, hands raised, face calm. He was in his 40s, fit, dark hair with gray at the temples. The kind of face that was forgettable by design, no distinguishing features, no memorable characteristics. A professional. "Commander McCord," his voice was pleasant, conversational. "I was wondering when you'd show up." "Step away from the terminal, slowly." "Of course." He moved away from the keyboard, hands still raised. "I should mention that you're making a mistake." "I doubt that." "I'm not here to hurt you, Commander. I'm here to help you. Help me by breaking into a secure facility in the middle of the night. Help you by removing evidence that will get you killed." His eyes were steady. No fear. "You think you've won something today. You think exposing Shaw and Vance was a victory, but all you've done is make yourself visible to people who prefer to operate in shadows." The principal. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, quickly hidden. You've done your homework. Who is it who's behind this? The man smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Commander, there are things happening in the military training apparatus that go far beyond one abusive instructor and one corrupt captain. A network, spanning multiple branches, multiple facilities, decades of operation. He paused. You've pulled on a thread. Now you need to decide if you want to unravel the whole sweater. I want answers. And I want to give them to you, but not like this. He glanced at the door. Your backup will be here in approximately 3 minutes. When they arrive, I'll be gone. The question is whether you want what I know before that happens. Eleanor's finger tightened on the trigger. Talk fast. The principal isn't one person. It's a position. A role that rotates among a small group of senior officers who believe that traditional training methods are too soft, too regulated. They've created an underground network of black sites where extreme conditioning is the norm, where accidents happen and questions aren't asked, where Camp Pendleton is just one node. There are others, 23 facilities across CONUS, each with its own handler. Shaw was Camp Pendleton's. The man's voice hardened. The principal rotates every 2 years. The current holder of that position is someone you've met, someone you trust. Eleanor's stomach dropped. Who? The man's smile widened. Ask yourself this, Commander. Who recruited you for this mission? Who knew exactly where to send you and what you would find? Who positioned you perfectly to take down Shaw without ever appearing directly involved? No, it wasn't possible. Admiral Reyes has been playing you from the beginning. The man reached into his pocket, slowly pulled out a USB drive, set it on the terminal. This contains encrypted files, communications between the principal and the handlers, schedules, facility locations, names. He stepped back. I'm giving it to you because you've proven you're willing to burn it all down. That's exactly what this network needs. Someone who won't stop. Why should I trust anything you say? You shouldn't. Trust is a weakness in this game. But verify. He moved toward the door. The truth is on that drive. If you have the courage to look. Footsteps in the hallway, approaching fast. The man paused at the doorway. One more thing, Commander. The fixer Webb warned you about. He's real. But it's not me. His eyes met hers, cold, knowing. The real fixer is already inside your inner circle. Someone you've confided in. Someone you believe is on your side. He was gone before she could respond. Reeves burst through the door 30 seconds later, weapon drawn, 3 MPs behind him. Commander, are you all right? Eleanor stood frozen, staring at the USB drive on the terminal. He was here. I had him. He what? She looked at Reeves, at the concern on his face, at the sincerity in his eyes. The fixer is already inside your inner circle, someone you've confided in. Nothing. She holstered her weapon. Sweep the building, he may still be on site. But she knew he wasn't. Professional like that didn't get caught. They appeared when they wanted to, disappeared when they needed to. And they only revealed themselves when they had something to gain. Reeves gave orders to the MPs. They dispersed into the hallway. Commander, what did he want? Eleanor looked at the USB drive, at the truth it might contain, at the lies it might conceal. I don't know yet, but she was going to find out. The next 3 hours were chaos. NCIS was notified. The facility went into full lockdown. Every entrance was sealed. Every person on base was accounted for. A complete security sweep was conducted. The intruder was gone. No trace. No evidence of how he had entered or escaped. But he had left the USB drive behind. At 0700 hours, Eleanor sat alone in her quarters. The drive plugged into a secure laptop with no network connection. She had run every diagnostic she knew. No malware, no tracking software, just encrypted files. It took her 2 hours to crack the encryption. Old skills. Dusty, but functional. When the files finally opened, she understood why. Communications, hundreds of them, spanning 8 years. Between handlers at facilities across the country and a central coordinator whose identity was hidden behind layers of code names and anonymous routing. But there were patterns, meeting schedules, phone records, travel authorizations, and one name that kept appearing, again and again, hidden in the subtext, implied but never stated directly. Reyes, not Admiral Reyes herself, but someone in her office, someone with access to her authority, someone who had been using her position to coordinate the network's activities while she remained oblivious. Or did she remain oblivious? Eleanor stared at the screen. The evidence was circumstantial, suggestive but not definitive. It could mean that Reyes was the principal manipulating Eleanor from the start. Or it could mean that someone was setting Reyes up, using her name, her position, without her knowledge. Either way, Eleanor couldn't trust anyone. Not Reeves, not Delacroix, not the NCIS team arriving in a few hours, not even herself. She had been so focused on Shaw and Vance that she had missed the larger picture, the network, the principle, the decades of systematic abuse hiding in plain sight. Sam had seen it. Sam had tried to expose it, and Sam was dead. Eleanor closed the laptop, looked at Sam's challenge coin, still sitting on her desk. "What did you find, Sam?" she whispered. "How deep does this go?" No answer, just silence and the weight of secrets that might destroy everything she thought she knew. The knock came at 0800. She knew who it was before she opened the door. NCIS, Agent Diana Vasquez, arriving right on schedule. Eleanor composed her face, hid the doubt, buried the fear. She had one chance to figure out who was telling the truth. The intruder who had warned her about betrayal, or the admiral who had sent her into the fire. Either way, she was done being a pawn. From now on, she was playing her own game. Agent Diana Vasquez was not what Eleanor expected. She was younger than her reputation suggested. Mid-30s, sharp eyes that missed nothing, the kind of presence that filled a room without trying. When she walked through Eleanor's door at 0803, she didn't offer pleasantries or small talk. "Commander McCord, I've read your file. Impressive service record, 847 confirmed kills, longest active deployment in SEAL sniper history." Vasquez set her briefcase on the table, pulled out a thick folder. "But what I want to know is why someone with your credentials is playing compliance officer at a training facility." Eleanor studied her, looking for tells, looking for deception. "Admiral Reyes recruited me." "I know. What I don't know is why you said yes." "Master Sergeant Samuel Olvera was my student. He died here. I came to find out why." Vasquez nodded slowly. "And instead you found a systematic abuse network, a corrupt captain, and a Marine who's looking at multiple homicide charges." She opened her folder. "Not bad for 60 days of compliance review." 47 days. Even more impressive. Vasquez pulled out a photograph, slid it across the table. "Do you recognize this man?" Eleanor looked at the image. Her blood went cold. The intruder from last night. The man who had given her the USB drive. The one who had warned her about the principal. "Where did you get this?" "Security footage from Naval Station Norfolk. 3 weeks ago. This man was seen entering the building where Admiral Reyes keeps her private office." Vasquez's eyes locked onto Eleanor's. "He spent 47 minutes inside. No record of what they discussed. No appointment logged. No security clearance on file." Eleanor's mind raced. If the intruder had met with Reyes 3 weeks ago before any of this started, before Shaw's arrest, before the evidence broadcast, who is he? That's the interesting part. Vasquez pulled out another document. "According to our database, this man doesn't exist. No fingerprints on file. No facial recognition matches. No military or civilian records. He's a ghost. Ghosts don't break into secure facilities and have private meetings with 4-star admirals. No, they don't." Vasquez leaned back. "Commander, I'm going to be direct with you. Something about this operation doesn't add up. You were sent here to investigate one death. You uncovered a network spanning years. You exposed it in a way that was spectacular, public, and impossible to cover up. That's bad. That's suspicious. Someone wanted Shaw and Vance burned. Someone positioned you perfectly to light the match. Vasquez's voice hardened. The question is whether you were a willing participant or an unwitting pawn. Eleanor felt the walls closing in, the same suspicion she had been wrestling with since last night, now voiced by someone else. You think I'm part of this? I think you're involved in ways you might not understand yet. Vasquez stood, moved to the window. I've been tracking this network for 3 years, Commander. 3 years of dead ends, buried evidence, and witnesses who vanish before they can testify. Then you show up and in 6 weeks the whole thing cracks open. Maybe I'm just better than your previous investigators. Vasquez turned. Her expression was unreadable. Maybe. Or maybe someone wanted you to succeed. Someone who needed Shaw removed but couldn't do it themselves without exposing their own involvement. The words hung in the air. Eleanor thought about the USB drive hidden in her quarters. The encrypted files pointing to someone in Reyes's office, the intruder's warning about betrayal. What do you want from me, Agent Vasquez? The truth. All of it. Including anything you haven't told anyone else. Eleanor made a decision. A calculated risk. Either Vasquez was an ally or she was part of the network. Either way, Eleanor needed to know. Last night, a man broke into the server room. The same man in your photograph. He gave me something. Vasquez's eyes sharpened. What? A USB drive. Encrypted files. Communications between handlers at facilities across the country and someone at the top. Someone they call the principal. Where is this drive now? Safe. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting until I know whose side you're on. Vasquez stared at her for a long moment. Then unexpectedly she smiled. Fair enough. I wouldn't trust me either. She sat back down. Let me tell you what I know, Commander. Then you can decide if we're allies or enemies. Eleanor nodded, waited. 3 years ago, I was assigned to investigate the death of a trainee at Camp Lejeune, 19 years old, Marine, died during a conditioning exercise. The official report said heart failure, but the autopsy showed something else. Trauma to the throat consistent with manual strangulation. Same pattern as Vance. Exactly. I started digging. Found similar cases at other facilities. Always training accidents. Always young, healthy personnel with no pre-existing conditions. Always ruled natural causes or equipment failure. How many? Vasquez's voice dropped. 17 confirmed, possibly more than 30, across 8 facilities over 12 years. Eleanor felt sick. 30 deaths. 30 people murdered in the name of extreme training. I tried to build a case, Vasquez continued. But every time I got close, something happened. Evidence disappeared. Witnesses recanted. My superiors told me to stand down. Eventually, I was reassigned to a desk job in Virginia. Career purgatory. But you kept investigating. Off the books. On my own time. I knew there was a network, but I couldn't prove it. Couldn't find the connection between the facilities. Couldn't identify who was coordinating everything. She met Eleanor's eyes. Until you blew the lid off Camp Pendleton. Now I have leverage. Now I have a thread to pull. And you think that thread leads to Admiral Reyes? Vasquez hesitated. I think that thread leads somewhere very high up. Whether it's Reyes or someone using her authority, I don't know yet. Eleanor made another decision. Reached into her jacket, pulled out the USB drive. The files on this drive suggest someone in Reyes's office is coordinating the network. Not Reyes herself necessarily, but someone close to her. Vasquez took the drive, examined it. You cracked the encryption, old habits. I need to see what's on here. I know, but first I need something from you. Name it. Eleanor leaned forward. Master Chief Reeves. He's been helping me since I arrived. Last night the intruder said the fixer is already inside my inner circle. Someone I trust. You think it's Reeves? I don't know what to think anymore, but I need to know if he's clean. Vasquez nodded. I'll run a deep background. Financial records, communications, travel patterns. If he's compromised, I'll find it. How long's home? 24 hours. Eleanor looked at the drive in Vasquez's hand. Her last piece of leverage. Her only insurance. If you betray me, Agent Vasquez, I will find out, and I will end you. Vasquez met her gaze, didn't flinch. I'd expect nothing less. And Commander, same goes for you. They shook hands. The alliance was formed. Now came the hard part. The call from Admiral Reyes came at 1400 hours. Eleanor was in the NCIS Temporary Operations Center reviewing evidence files with Vasquez when her secure phone buzzed. She stepped outside, answered. Commander McCord. Eleanor. Reyes' voice was warm, concerned. I heard about last night, the intruder. Are you all right? Eleanor kept her voice neutral. I'm fine, Admiral. Good, I was worried. A pause. I also heard you've been working closely with Agent Vasquez. She has a reputation for being thorough. She seems competent. More than competent. She's been investigating the training facility network for years. Did she tell you that... Eleanor's grip tightened on the phone. She mentioned it. What else did she mention? The question was casual. Too casual. Fishing for information. Nothing relevant, Admiral. We're focused on building the case against Shaw and Vance. Of course. Another pause. Longer this time. Eleanor, I need you to be careful. This investigation is expanding in ways that could become complicated. Complicated how there are people who don't want the truth to come out. Powerful people. People who will do anything to protect themselves. Reyes's voice dropped. I've been hearing whispers, concerns about the direction of the investigation, pressure to wrap things up quickly. From who? I can't say. Not over this line. But I need you to trust me, Eleanor. Whatever you find, whatever Vasquez tells you, remember who recruited you for this mission. Remember who gave you the chance to get justice for Sam. Eleanor felt the manipulation beneath the words, the subtle reminder of loyalty, the implicit demand for gratitude. I remember, Admiral. Good. We'll talk more when you return to Norfolk. Until then, stay safe. And Eleanor, don't believe everything you hear. The line went dead. Eleanor stood in the hallway, phone in hand, mind churning. Reyes knew something. Knew about Vasquez's investigation. Knew about the pressure to shut things down. Maybe she was warning Eleanor, protecting her. Or maybe she was testing her, probing for weaknesses, trying to figure out how much Eleanor had learned. Trust no one. The intruder's words echoed in her head, but she had to trust someone. She couldn't take down a network spanning decades and dozens of facilities alone. The question was who? The answer came at 1847 hours. Eleanor was eating dinner in the mess hall alone at a corner table when Corporal Jesse Delacroix slid into the seat across from her. Ma'am, we need to talk. Eleanor set down her fork. What is it? I've been doing what you asked, keeping my head down, watching, listening. Jesse's voice was barely above a whisper. But something happened today. Something that doesn't make sense. Tell me. Master Chief Reeves. I saw him in the parking lot this afternoon. He was meeting with someone, civilian. They talked for about 10 minutes, then the civilian got in a car and left. Eleanor's stomach tightened. Did you recognize the civilian? No, but I got a picture. Jessie pulled out her phone, showed Eleanor the screen. Eleanor's blood ran cold. The intruder, the ghost from last night, the man who had given her the USB drive and warned her about betrayal, meeting with Reeves, in broad daylight. Ma'am, what is it? Eleanor forced herself to breathe, to think. If Reeves was meeting with the intruder, it could mean several things. He could be the fixer, the inside man working for the principal. Or he could be another victim of the network being manipulated just like her. Either way, she needed answers. Corporal, I need you to do something for me. Anything, ma'am. This photograph. Don't show it to anyone. Don't talk about what you saw. And whatever you do, don't trust Master Chief Reeves. Jesse's eyes widened. Ma'am, he's been helping us. He's on our side. Maybe, maybe not. Eleanor met her gaze. I don't know who to trust anymore, Jesse. But I know I trust you. You came forward when no one else would. You stood up when everyone else stayed silent. Ma'am, if something happens to me, I need you to contact Agent Vasquez. Tell her everything you know. Give her this photograph. Make sure the investigation continues. Nothing's going to happen to you. Eleanor looked at this young woman, so brave, so naive. still believing that courage was enough to keep you safe. Jesse, when I was your age, I believed the same thing. But I've learned something since then. The people we fight are ruthless. They don't play by rules. They don't respect honor or courage or loyalty. They only respect power. Then we get more power than them. Eleanor almost smiled. That's the plan. But power isn't just weapons and rank. It's information. It's knowing who your enemies are before they know you're coming. And you think Reeves is an enemy. I think Reeves is meeting with people who want me dead. Until I know why I'm treating everyone as a potential threat. Jessie nodded slowly. The fear was back in her eyes, but underneath it was something harder. Something that had been forged in months of abuse and silence. I won't let you down, ma'am. I know you won't. Eleanor stood. Now go. Get back to your quarters. Act normal. And Jessie, thank you for everything. The young woman left. Eleanor sat alone, dinner forgotten mind racing through scenarios and possibilities. The pieces were coming together, but the picture they formed was darker than she had imagined. At 2200 hours, Eleanor confronted Reeves. She found him in his office, working late, the same man who had given her Sam's challenge coin, who had promised to help, who had seemed so genuine in his guilt and his grief. Commander, this is unexpected. Eleanor closed the door, locked it. We need to talk, Master Chief. Reeves looked up from his paperwork. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Understanding. I was wondering when you'd come. You know why I'm here. I can guess. He set down his pen, leaned back. You saw me with him, the man from last night. Eleanor didn't move, didn't blink. Who is he? His name is Marcus Cole, former CIA, black operations specialist. He's been running intelligence assets inside the military for 15 years. And you're one of his assets. Reeves's jaw tightened. I was. Not anymore. Explain. 3 years ago, Cole recruited me, said there was a network inside the training apparatus, corrupt officers using black sites for extreme conditioning. He wanted someone on the inside, someone who could gather information without raising suspicion. You've been a spy for 3 years. I've been trying to bring down the same people you're fighting, Commander, but from a different angle. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know if you could be trusted. Reeves met her eyes. Cole told me you were recruited by the principal, that Reyes sent you here to burn Shaw because he was becoming a liability, that you were part of the network whether you knew it or not. Eleanor felt her world tilting. That's not true. I know that now. After what you did in the training hall, after watching you risk your life to expose the truth. But I had to be sure. And the meeting today. What was that about? Reeves stood, moved to a filing cabinet, pulled out a thick folder. Cole brought me this. Intelligence he's been gathering for years. Names, dates, facilities. The entire structure of the network. He handed her the folder. Eleanor opened it, scanned the contents. Her heart stopped. 37 facilities, not 23. 17 confirmed deaths, more than 50 suspected. Handlers at every major training center in the country, and at the top, a single name. Not Reyes, someone else. Someone Eleanor knew. This can't be right. It is. Reeves's voice was grim. The principal isn't Admiral Reyes. She's being set up, framed to take the fall when this all comes out. Then who? Keep reading. Eleanor turned the page, found a personnel file, a photograph. Admiral James Carson, the man who had recruited Reyes, who had been Sam's friend, who had promised to support the investigation, the man who had sent her here in the first place. Carson created the network 30 years ago, Desert Storm. He saw what extreme conditioning could do, how it could break people down and rebuild them. He believed it was the future of military training. Reeves's voice was flat. He's been protecting it ever since, using people like Shaw as handlers, eliminating anyone who got too close. Sam discovered the connection to Carson. He was building a case, had evidence that could have brought down the whole network. Reeves paused. Carson found out. He ordered the hit. Eleanor felt her legs weaken. She grabbed the edge of the desk. Carson killed Sam. Carson ordered Sam killed. The actual execution was carried out by one of his fixers, a man who specializes in making deaths look like accidents. Who? Reeves met her eyes. I don't know his identity. None of us do. But Cole has been tracking him for years. He's believed to be responsible for at least 12 deaths. Always clean, always undetectable, always protected by the highest levels of command. Eleanor's mind was spinning. Carson, the fixer, the network. Everything she thought she knew was wrong. Why are you telling me this now? Because Cole believes you're the only one who can bring Carson down. You have credibility. You have evidence. You have a public platform after what happened in the training hall. Reeves stepped closer. But more importantly, you have something Carson doesn't expect. What? You're already dead. Eleanor stared at him. What are you talking about? Carson thinks you're contained. He thinks the investigation will be closed. The evidence buried, the witnesses silenced. He doesn't know about Cole's intelligence. He doesn't know that you've already seen through Reyes's frame-up. Reeves's voice dropped. He doesn't know you're coming for him. Eleanor looked at the folder in her hands. The names, the dates, the deaths. 30 years of corruption hidden in plain sight. If I go after Carson, I'll be going after one of the most powerful men in the Navy. Yes. I'll be destroying my career, my reputation, everything I've built. Yes. And there's a good chance I'll end up like Sam. Reeves was silent for a long moment. Cole believes the fixer is already moving, that Carson has ordered your elimination. The meeting today was to warn me, to tell me that we're running out of time. How long? Days, maybe less. Reeves handed her something else, a small device. This is a panic button, satellite linked. If you're in danger, press it. Cole's people will extract you within 15 minutes. Eleanor looked at the device. So small, so inadequate against the forces arrayed against her. What's Cole's endgame? What does he want out of this? The same thing you want, justice. Carson destroyed people Cole cared about, killed assets he had spent years developing, made him watch while his network was torn apart piece by piece. Reeves's voice hardened. This isn't just an investigation for Cole. It's personal. So I'm supposed to trust him because he has a grudge. You're supposed to trust him because he has information you need and resources you can't get anywhere else. And because right now he's the only person with both the motivation and the capability to take Carson down. Eleanor weighed her options. Trust a ghost who had broken into a secure facility. Rely on intelligence from a man she had never met. Go to war against an admiral who controlled the entire training apparatus. Or walk away. Let NCIS handle the investigation. Hope that Vasquez could build a case without getting killed. But if she walked away, Carson would win. The network would survive, and Sam's death would mean nothing. Where do I find Cole? Reeves almost smiled. You don't. He finds you. He moved toward the door. Get some rest, Commander. Tomorrow we start planning how to take down the most dangerous man in the Navy. He left. Eleanor stood alone in the office, surrounded by evidence of a conspiracy 3 decades in the making, and realized that everything she had done so far was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and she wasn't sure she would survive it. At 0300 hours, Eleanor's phone buzzed with a single text message. Unknown number, encrypted routing. The fixer arrives tomorrow. Watch the people closest to you. One of them is already dead. They just don't know it yet. Eleanor read the message 3 times. Then she checked her weapon, locked her door, and waited for dawn. Dawn came gray and cold. Eleanor hadn't slept. She had spent the night reviewing Cole's intelligence, memorizing names, cross-referencing dates, building a mental map of the network that stretched across 3 decades and 37 facilities. Admiral James Carson, the principal, the man who had created an empire of abuse and murder while wearing the uniform of a hero. She had met him once, 5 years ago, a ceremony at Norfolk where he had pinned a commendation medal on her chest and told her she was a credit to the Navy. He had smiled when he said it, the same smile Shaw had worn when threatening her in his office. At Aero 600, her phone buzzed. Text from Vasquez. Reeves is clean. Financial records show nothing unusual. No unexplained contacts. No suspicious travel. If he's compromised, it's not showing up in the data. Eleanor read the message twice. Felt something loosen in her chest. One ally confirmed. One person she could trust. She replied, "What about the background on Carson?" The response came 30 seconds later. "Meeting in 20 minutes. NCIS Operations Center. Bring everything." Eleanor gathered the files. The USB drive. Sam's challenge coin. Time to go to war. Vasquez was already waiting when Eleanor arrived. So was someone else. A man in his 60s. Silver hair. Distinguished bearing. The kind of face that belonged on currency. Admiral James Carson. Eleanor froze in the doorway. "Commander McCord." Carson rose from his chair, extended his hand. "It's good to see you again, though I wish it were under better circumstances." Eleanor's training took over. She shook his hand, kept her expression neutral, didn't let him see the fear screaming through every nerve. "Admiral Carson, I didn't expect to see you here. I flew in this morning. When I heard about the developments at Camp Pendleton, I felt it was important to be personally involved." Carson's eyes were warm, concerned, perfectly calibrated. "The abuse that occurred here is unconscionable. I want to ensure justice is served." Eleanor glanced at Vasquez, looking for a signal, a warning, something. Vasquez's face revealed nothing. "Please sit." Carson gestured to a chair. "Agent Vasquez was just briefing me on the investigation's progress. Impressive work, Commander. Truly impressive." Eleanor sat, every muscle in her body coiled tight. "Thank you, sir. I understand you've uncovered evidence of a network, multiple facilities, years of cover-ups." Carson shook his head slowly. "It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Men and women I've trusted, people I've served with, involved in something this monstrous." "Yes, sir. It appears to go very high up." "So I've heard." Carson's gaze sharpened slightly. "Any indication of who might be coordinating everything? A central figure?" The question hung in the air. Eleanor felt the trap closing. Carson was probing, testing, trying to determine how much she knew. "We're still developing that lead, Admiral." "I see." Carson nodded slowly. "Well, I want you to know that you have my full support. Whatever resources you need, whatever access you require, you'll have it. This cancer must be cut out, no matter how high it reaches." "Thank you, sir." Carson stood, buttoned his jacket. "I have meetings with the base commander this afternoon, but I'd like to schedule a private briefing with you later today. Say 1800 hours. There are some sensitive matters I'd prefer to discuss away from official channels." Every instinct Eleanor had screamed danger. "Of course, Admiral, I'll make myself available." "Excellent." Carson moved toward the door, paused, turned back. "Commander McCord, I knew Samuel Olvera. Not well, but enough to recognize a man of integrity. His death was a tragedy. I'm glad someone is finally seeking justice for him." He was gone before she could respond. Eleanor stared at the closed door, heart pounding, mind racing. "He knows." Vasquez was beside her in an instant, voice low. "Knows what?" "Everything. He knows I'm on to him. That meeting wasn't about support, it was reconnaissance." "You can't be sure of that." "I'm sure." Eleanor pulled out the folder Reeves had given her, spread it across the table. "Last night I received intelligence from a source inside the network. Cole, former CIA. He's been tracking Carson for years." Vasquez's eyes scanned the documents. Her face went pale. "This is... Commander, if this is accurate, 37 facilities, 50 deaths, all connected to one man. Carson created the network. Carson protects it. Carson eliminates anyone who gets too close, including Olvera, including Sam. Vasquez sat down heavily, processing. Why didn't you show me this earlier? Because I didn't know if I could trust you. I still don't know if I can trust anyone. Eleanor met her eyes. But Carson just walked into this room and lied to my face about wanting justice, which means he's scared, which means he's moving to contain this before it spreads. The private meeting at 1800. It's a trap. Has to be. He's isolating me, getting me alone. Then don't go. I have to go. If I refuse, he knows I'm on to him. He'll accelerate whatever he's planning. More people will die. Vasquez was quiet for a moment. What's your play? Eleanor looked at the evidence spread across the table, at Sam's challenge coin in her pocket, at everything she had fought for since arriving at this facility. Carson thinks he's setting a trap for me. I'm going to let him. And when he shows his hand, I'm going to take him down. That's suicide. Maybe. Eleanor's voice was steady. But I didn't come here to survive. I came here to finish what Sam started. If that costs me my life, so be it. Vasquez stared at her. Something shifted in her expression. Respect. Understanding. What do you need from backup? Surveillance. Someone watching the meeting location who can intervene if things go wrong. I can arrange that, but Commander... Vasquez leaned forward. If Carson is the principal, he has resources we can't match. People inside every agency. Eyes everywhere. Even if we catch him in the act, he could bury this. Not if we broadcast it. What? Eleanor thought about the training hall, the screens, the evidence playing for 200 witnesses. Carson's power depends on secrecy, on controlling information, on making problems disappear before anyone notices. She looked at Vasquez. What happens if we take that away? What happens if the whole world is watching when he makes his move? Understanding dawned in Vasquez's eyes. You want to expose him publicly, the same way you exposed Shaw. I want to make sure that whatever happens tonight, the truth survives, even if I don't. Vasquez was quiet for a long moment. You're asking me to help you set yourself up as bait for a man who has killed dozens of people. I'm asking you to help me end this, once and for all. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Vasquez nodded. What's the plan? The next 8 hours were a blur of preparation. Eleanor coordinated with Vasquez's team, established surveillance positions around the base commander's private conference room where Carson had requested the meeting, set up hidden cameras and audio recording equipment, arranged for a secure satellite uplink that would broadcast everything to NCIS headquarters in Washington. If Carson made a move, the whole world would see it. At 1400 hours, she received a text from an unknown number. Cole, I know about the meeting tonight. Don't trust Vasquez. She's been compromised. Eleanor stared at the message, heart sinking. Another warning, another claim of betrayal, another reason to doubt everyone around her. She didn't respond, didn't have time to verify. The meeting was in 4 hours. Trust no one. But she had to trust someone. At 1600 hours, Reeves found her in the equipment room. Commander, I have something you need to see. He handed her a tablet. Security footage from the administrative building parking lot. Time-stamped 2 hours ago. Vasquez, meeting with a civilian in a black sedan. I ran the plates, Reeves said. The car is registered to a shell company. Same company that owns the burner phone Shaw used to warn the network. Eleanor watched the footage. Vasquez talking through the car window, nodding, accepting something, a package. What's in the package? I don't know, but Commander, this doesn't look good. Eleanor's mind raced. Cole's warning about Vasquez, now this footage. Was Vasquez the fixer? Had she been playing Eleanor from the beginning? Or was this manufactured, another layer of deception designed to isolate her? Where's Vasquez now? NCIS Operations Center, finalizing the surveillance setup for tonight. Eleanor made a decision. Maybe the wrong one, but she was out of time. Don't tell anyone about this footage, not yet. Commander, I need to know for sure, Master Chief. If Vasquez is compromised, I'll deal with it. But I can't start doubting everyone based on second-hand intelligence. Reeves looked at her, concern etched into every line of his weathered face. You're walking into a trap tonight. With backup you can't trust, against an enemy who has killed everyone who's gotten this close. I know. Then why are you doing it? Eleanor thought about Sam, about the letter he had written, about the promise she had made at his grave. Because someone has to. Because if I don't, Carson wins. The network survives. And everything Sam died for means nothing. That's not enough. It's all I have. She looked at him. Master Chief, if something happens to me tonight, I need you to make sure the evidence gets out. The files from Cole, the USB drive, everything. Can you do that? Reeves was silent for a long moment. I can do that. Thank you. She started to leave, stopped. One more thing. The fixer. Cole's warning said he arrives today. Someone close to me is already dead. They just don't know it yet. What does that mean? I don't know, but stay alert. Watch everyone. Trust no one. She walked out. Behind her, Reeves pulled out his phone, made a call. It's me. She's going through with it. Tonight. 1800 hours. He listened. Understood. I'll be ready. He hung up. His face was unreadable. At 17:45, Eleanor made one final stop. Corporal Jesse Delacroix's quarters. The young woman answered the door immediately, face pale, eyes wide. Commander, I've been trying to reach you all day. What is it? I found something in the administrative files. Something about the night Master Sergeant Olvera died. Eleanor stepped inside, closed the door. Show me. Jesse handed her a printout. Personnel logs from the night of Sam's death. Eleanor scanned the document. Standard information, names of personnel on duty. Access logs, security clearances. Then she saw it. A name that shouldn't have been there. Admiral James Carson, present at Camp Pendleton the night Sam died. Not officially, not on any record, but logged into a secure terminal at 2300 hours, 3 hours before Sam's accident. He was here, Eleanor breathed. There's more. Jesse handed her another document. I cross-referenced the access logs with security footage. The cameras in that wing were offline for maintenance, but there's a backup system. Redundant storage that wasn't supposed to be active. She pulled up a video on her laptop. Grainy footage. A hallway. A figure moving through shadows. Carson. Unmistakable. Walking toward the equipment room where Sam's harness was stored. He sabotaged the equipment himself, Eleanor said. Not a fixer, not an intermediary. Carson personally killed Sam. Jesse nodded, trembling. Commander, if this gets out, it will get out. Tonight. Eleanor took the printouts, the laptop. Jesse, I need you to disappear, right now. Leave the facility. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Contact Agent Vasquez in 24 hours if I don't check in. But this is going to get ugly, very ugly, and Carson will do anything to protect himself, including killing everyone who knows the truth. Eleanor gripped her shoulders. You've done more than enough. Now I need you safe. Do you understand? Jesse's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Be careful, Commander. I will. Eleanor left, evidence in hand, heart pounding. Carson had murdered Sam with his own hands, and in less than an hour, she was going to meet him alone. The conference room was empty when Eleanor arrived at 17:55. She had 5 minutes before Carson was supposed to appear, 5 minutes to set up, 5 minutes to prepare for whatever was coming. She activated her hidden camera, checked the satellite uplink, confirmed that Vasquez's team was in position around the building. If this was a trap, at least there would be witnesses. At 1800, exactly the door opened. Carson entered, alone. Commander McCord, thank you for meeting me. Admiral? Carson closed the door, moved to the table, sat down across from her. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Carson smiled. You know, don't you? Eleanor didn't flinch. Know what, sir? Everything. His voice was calm. almost gentle. Cole's intelligence, the network files, my involvement in Olvera's death. Eleanor's hand moved toward her sidearm. I wouldn't. Carson's voice hardened. There are 4 men positioned outside this building, all loyal to me. If you make any aggressive move, you'll be dead before you clear your holster. Eleanor froze. What do you want? What I've always wanted. To protect this country. To build warriors who can survive anything the enemy throws at them. Carson leaned forward. You think I'm a monster commander, but everything I've done has been in service of a greater good. You murdered people, trainees, investigators, Sam. I eliminated threats to a program that has saved thousands of lives. The calculus is simple, a few deaths to protect many. His eyes were cold, certain. Olvera was going to destroy decades of work. I couldn't allow that. So you killed him yourself. I handled it personally because I respected him. He deserved better than a hired assassin. Carson's voice carried something like regret. Just as you deserve better. Eleanor felt the walls closing in. You're going to kill me. I'm going to offer you a choice. Carson pulled out a folder, placed it on the table. Inside this folder is a complete dossier on every person you care about. Jesse Delacroix, Marcus Webb, Master Chief Reeves, Agent Vasquez, their families, their addresses, their vulnerabilities. Eleanor's blood ran cold. If you continue this investigation, they will all die. Not quickly, not cleanly, slowly, painfully, in ways that will never be traced back to me. Carson's voice was matter of fact. Or you can walk away, return to Norfolk, file a report that closes the investigation, live out your career in peace. And if I choose to fight, then you die, tonight, in this room, and everyone on that list follows you within the week. Eleanor looked at the folder, at Carson's calm, certain face, at the door that led to freedom or death. You're bluffing. I never bluff. Ask Olvera. Carson stood. You have 60 seconds to decide. Walk away and live, or die here knowing that everyone you tried to protect will suffer because of your stubbornness. Eleanor's mind raced. The satellite uplink was active. Everything was being broadcast. But Carson didn't seem to care. Why, unless the broadcast wasn't going through? Unless someone had sabotaged the equipment? Unless Vasquez really was compromised? 30 seconds, Commander. Eleanor made a decision. I have a third option. She reached into her jacket, pulled out the laptop Jesse had given her, set it on the table. This is footage from the night you killed Sam. You, Admiral, walking into the equipment room, 3 hours before his death. Carson's composure cracked, just for a moment. That footage doesn't exist. It does. Redundant backup system. Something your people missed when they wiped the primary servers. Eleanor pressed play. And right now, this video is being uploaded to every major news outlet in the country. Carson's face went white. You're bluffing. I never bluff. Ask your fixer. For the first time, Eleanor saw fear in his eyes. You don't know what you're doing. If this gets out, justice gets served, the network gets exposed, and you spend the rest of your life in a cell. Eleanor stood. Your 60 seconds are up, Admiral. What's your decision? Carson stared at her. The fear was transforming, becoming rage. You think you've won? I think you've lost. Carson's hand moved toward his pocket. The door burst open. Reeves, weapon drawn, 2 MPs behind him. Admiral James Carson, you are under arrest. Carson froze. On what charge? Murder, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. Reeves moved forward, cuffs ready. And if you're very lucky, that's just the beginning. Carson looked at Eleanor, pure hatred burning in his eyes. This isn't over. Yes, it is. They led him away. Eleanor stood alone in the conference room, shaking, breathing, alive. Her phone buzzed. Text from Vasquez. Broadcast successful. Washington has everything. Carson's finished. Eleanor read the message 3 times. Then she pulled out Sam's challenge coin, held it tight. It's done, Sam. We got him. The coin was warm in her palm. like a hand reaching across the void, like forgiveness, like peace. The news broke at 0600 the next morning. Every major network carried it. Every newspaper ran it above the fold. Every social media platform exploded with the footage of Admiral James Carson admitting to murder in a conference room at Camp Pendleton. Eleanor watched the coverage from her quarters, coffee growing cold in her hands, eyes burning from lack of sleep. The world was finally seeing what she had uncovered: the network, the deaths, the decades of corruption hidden behind medals and commendations. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since midnight. Reporters, officials, former colleagues wanting to know if the rumors were true. She ignored them all. At 0730, there was a knock on her door. Vasquez stood in the hallway, face drawn, exhausted. "Commander, we need to talk." Eleanor let her in, closed the door. "I saw the footage from yesterday," Vasquez said. "Reeves meeting with the civilian, the package." Eleanor said nothing, waited. "It wasn't what it looked like. I was receiving intelligence from Cole's network, information about Carson's security detail, his escape routes, his contingency plans." Vasquez met her eyes. "I should have told you. I didn't because I wasn't sure who to trust, including you. Cole sent me a warning, said you were compromised." "I know," he told me afterward. Vasquez almost smiled. He was testing us both, seeing if we would turn on each other or work together. Did we pass? We're both still alive. Carson's in custody. I'd call that passing. Eleanor set down her coffee. The tension that had been coiling in her chest for days finally began to ease. What happens now? Now comes the hard part. Vasquez sat down. "Carson is claiming entrapment. His lawyers are already filing motions. They're arguing that the footage was obtained illegally, that his confession was coerced, that the whole investigation was compromised from the start. He admitted to murder on camera. He admitted in a private meeting that he believed was confidential, without counsel present. After being ambushed with evidence, he had no time to verify." Vasquez shook her head. "His legal team is good, very good. They're going to fight every piece of evidence we have." Eleanor felt anger rising. "So he walks, not if I can help it, but we need more. Corroborating testimony, documentation, witnesses who can place Carson at the scene of multiple incidents." Vasquez leaned forward. "The network is crumbling. Handlers are being arrested across the country. Some of them are already talking, trying to cut deals. If we can get one of them to flip on Carson directly..." "Who?" "Shaw. He's facing life in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. If we offer him a reduced sentence in exchange for testimony against Carson, Shaw would sell out his own mother to save himself." "Exactly." Vasquez stood. "I'm heading to Miramar this afternoon. Shaw's been isolated since his arrest. No communication with the outside. He doesn't know Carson is in custody. He doesn't know the network is falling apart. You want to use that. I want to give him a choice. Testify against Carson and spend 20 years in federal prison. Or stay loyal and spend the rest of his life in a military cell knowing that everyone else has already turned." Eleanor thought about Shaw, about the threats he had made, about the smug confidence he had worn like armor. "Let me come with you." Vasquez hesitated. "Are you sure? After everything Shaw did, he threatened my life, covered up Sam's murder, protected the man who killed him." Eleanor's voice was steel. "I want to see his face when he realizes it's over." Vasquez nodded slowly. "We leave at 1400. The Naval Consolidated Brig at Miramar was exactly what Eleanor expected. Gray concrete, razor wire. The kind of place designed to strip away hope one day at a time. Shaw was waiting in an interrogation room when they arrived. Orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed to the table, face gaunt from 2 weeks of isolation. He looked up when they entered. His eyes found Eleanor first. "Commander McCord, come to gloat. Come to offer you a lifeline, Captain." Vasquez sat down across from him. "Though I wouldn't get too excited. It's a thin one." Shaw's lip curled. "I have nothing to say to you. Either of you." "That's fine. You can listen instead." Vasquez opened a folder. Admiral James Carson was arrested last night. He's currently being held at a classified location pending charges of murder conspiracy and treason. Shaw's face went white. You're lying. We have video footage of Carson admitting to the murder of Master Sergeant Samuel Olvera. We have documentation connecting him to the network you helped protect. We have handlers at 6 different facilities who are already cooperating with investigators. Vasquez slid a photograph across the table. This is Carson being led away in handcuffs, taken 12 hours ago. Shaw stared at the image. Something cracked behind his eyes. He promised you protection, advancement, a career built on bodies and lies. Eleanor's voice cut through his shock. How's that working out for you? Shaw's jaw tightened, but the bravado was gone, replaced by something that looked like fear. What do you want? Testimony, Vasquez said. Everything you know about Carson's involvement. Dates, incidents, communications, anything that corroborates the evidence we already have. And in exchange, 20 years, federal prison, possibility of parole after 15, Shaw laughed. Bitter. Broken. 20 years. For protecting a program that saved thousands of lives. 20 years for covering up murder. For intimidating witnesses. For threatening a decorated SEAL commander. Vasquez leaned forward. Or we let the military tribunal handle you. Life imprisonment. No parole. Dishonorable discharge. Everything you've ever accomplished erased. Some choice. It's the only one you're getting. Shaw was quiet for a long moment. His eyes moved between Vasquez and Eleanor, calculating, weighing. If I testify, Carson's people will kill me, even in prison. He has reach everywhere. Carson's people are scattered, running, trying to save themselves. Eleanor's voice was cold. No one is coming to rescue you, Shaw. No one is coming to silence you. The only question is whether you spend the next 40 years rotting in a cell or whether you have a chance at seeing sunlight again before you die. Something broke in Shaw's expression, the last remnants of loyalty crumbling. Fine, I'll testify. But I want it in writing. The deal. The protection. Everything. Vasquez pulled out a document, already prepared. Sign here. Shaw signed, and just like that, the last piece fell into place. The court-martial began 3 weeks later. Eleanor sat in the gallery every day, watching, listening, bearing witness as the network she had uncovered was systematically dismantled. Shaw testified for 4 days. Names, dates, incidents, a catalog of horror that left even the seasoned military judges visibly shaken. Carson sat at the defense table throughout, face impassive, eyes dead. The distinguished admiral reduced to a hollow shell in an orange jumpsuit. On the 5th day, Eleanor was called to testify. She walked to the witness stand, took the oath, faced the panel of judges who would decide Carson's fate. The prosecutor's questions were methodical. Her recruitment for the mission, her arrival at Camp Pendleton, the abuse she had witnessed, the evidence she had gathered. Then came the defense. Carson's lawyer was everything Vasquez had warned about. Smooth, aggressive, relentless. Commander McCord, isn't it true that you had a personal vendetta against Admiral Carson? No. You didn't blame him for the death of Master Sergeant Olvera. I blamed the person responsible for Sam's death. The evidence proved that person was Admiral Carson. Evidence you obtained through illegal surveillance, unauthorized access to classified systems, entrapment of a superior officer. Evidence I obtained in the course of a lawful investigation authorized by Admiral Catherine Reyes and conducted in coordination with NCIS. An investigation that you manipulated from the start, that you used to pursue a personal agenda of revenge. Eleanor met the lawyer's eyes, steady, unafraid. I came to Camp Pendleton to find out why a good man died. What I found was a network of abuse, murder, and cover-ups spanning 3 decades. Admiral Carson created that network. Admiral Carson protected it. Admiral Carson personally killed my student and friend. Her voice didn't waver. That's not revenge. That's justice. The courtroom was silent. The lawyer had no more questions. The verdict came 2 days later. Guilty on all counts: murder, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, conduct unbecoming. Admiral James Carson was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. His rank was stripped, his decorations revoked, his name removed from every honor roll and memorial where it had been inscribed. Eleanor watched as they led him away, waiting to feel something: triumph, closure, the satisfaction of a mission completed. Instead, she felt empty. Carson had killed Sam, had destroyed dozens of lives, had corrupted the institution she had devoted her career to serving. And now he was going to spend the rest of his days in a cell, forgotten and alone. It wasn't enough. Nothing would ever be enough. But it was done. The memorial service was held on a Saturday. 300 people gathered at Arlington National Cemetery to honor Master Sergeant Samuel Olvera. Marines in dress blues, sailors in whites, family members clutching photographs and memories. Eleanor stood at the front, beside Sam's mother, beside the siblings she had never met, beside the life he had left behind. The chaplain spoke of sacrifice, of duty, of a man who had given everything in service of truth. Then it was Eleanor's turn. She walked to the podium, looked out at the sea of faces, felt the weight of everything she wanted to say pressing against her chest. Sam Olvera saved my life, twice in combat, once in a different way. Her voice was steady, strong. When I was a young sniper full of anger and certainty, he taught me that discipline wasn't about following orders. It was about having the courage to do what's right even when everyone around you is looking away. She paused, let the words settle. Sam died because he refused to look away. He saw something wrong in the system he loved, and he tried to fix it. Not for glory, not for recognition, but because that's who he was. Her eyes found Sam's mother, a woman in her 70s, tears streaming down her face. I can't bring him back. I can't undo the years of abuse that happened while good people stayed silent. But I can promise this Sam's death was not in vain. The network he exposed is being dismantled. The people responsible are facing justice, and the program he believed in is being rebuilt the right way. She pulled out Sam's challenge coin, held it up so everyone could see. Sam gave me this coin when I graduated from his training course. He told me to carry it always, to remember what it stood for. Her voice cracked, just slightly. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That's what it says on the back. That's what Sam believed. That's what we owe him. She placed the coin on the podium. Rest easy, Master Sergeant. Mission complete. She stepped back. The honor guard raised their rifles. 3 volleys split the silence. Taps echoed across the headstones, and Samuel Olvera was laid to rest among heroes. 6 months later, Eleanor stood before a new class of instructors. 23 men and women from every service branch, selected for the Reformed Combat Training Integration Program, eager, nervous, ready to learn. Jesse Delacroix stood among them, promoted to sergeant, assigned as Eleanor's second-in-command. Reeves was there too, watching from the back, a small smile on his weathered face. The facility had been transformed. New protocols, independent oversight, cameras in every training area, anonymous reporting systems that actually worked. On the wall behind Eleanor, a memorial plaque caught the morning light. Master Sergeant Samuel R. Olvera, USMC, 1984-2024. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. She began the briefing. You're here because you represent something new, a different kind of training, one that pushes people to their limits without breaking them, one that builds warriors who are as disciplined as they are dangerous. She looked at their faces, saw potential, saw determination, saw the future. The old way is gone. The abuse, the cover-ups, the culture of silence. All of it ends here. Her voice hardened. If you see something wrong, you report it. If someone violates protocol, you hold them accountable. If anyone tells you to look away, you look harder. She paused. Let that sink in. Master Sergeant Olvera died trying to make this program what it should have always been. I'm not going to let his sacrifice mean nothing. Neither are you. She dismissed them to their first session. Jesse approached as the room emptied. Think it'll work, ma'am? Think we can really change the culture?" Eleanor looked around the facility, at the new equipment, the new faces, the memorial plaque on the wall. "I think we already have, Sergeant." That evening, Eleanor returned to her quarters to find a package waiting. No return address, just her name in careful handwriting. Inside was a worn leather journal, pages filled with notes and observations, decades of wisdom distilled into handwritten entries. Sam's training journal, the one he had kept throughout his career. A note was tucked inside the front cover. Sam's handwriting, unmistakable. "Ellie, if you're reading this, then you've done what I couldn't. Thank you. The journal is yours now. Everything I learned in 30 years of training warriors. The techniques that worked, the mistakes I made, the principles I tried to live by. Use it. Teach the next generation. Make them better than we were. And remember, true strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about knowing when to hold on and when to let go. I'm proud of you. Sam." Eleanor sat on the edge of her bed, journal in her lap. Tears she had been holding back for months finally breaking free. She cried for Sam, for the years they wouldn't have, for the conversations they'd never finish. She cried for herself, for the fear she had carried, for the nights she had wondered if any of it was worth it. She cried until there was nothing left. Then she dried her eyes, opened the journal, began to read. Sam's wisdom, his failures, his hope. She would learn it all, implement it all, pass it on to the next generation. Master Sergeant Samuel Olvera had believed that one person with courage could change a system. He had proved it with his life. Now she would prove it with hers. The next morning, Eleanor was back at the facility at Euro 5:30. First one there, last one to leave, just like Sam had taught her. The new instructors were arriving, eager and nervous, ready for their second day. She greeted each one, learned their names, began building the relationships that would form the foundation of trust. At 0600, she stood on the mat where Vance had tried to break her, where the truth had finally come to light. "Good morning. I'm Commander Eleanor McCord, and this is where we begin." She looked at their faces, saw herself 30 years ago, young, angry, certain that strength was all that mattered. "Master Sergeant Olvera once told me that the strongest warriors don't break the rules, they enforce them." She smiled. Today, we start proving he was right. The training began. On the wall behind her, Sam's memorial caught the light. His words, his legacy, his promise. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. They crossed that bridge together, the right way, Sam's way. And in crossing it, they honored every trainee who had suffered in silence, every whistleblower who had been silenced, every good person who had looked away because they were afraid. No more silence, no more fear, only truth, only justice, only the kind of strength that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you stand for. Eleanor McCord had walked into Camp Pendleton as a compliance officer with a dead mentor and a broken heart. She walked out as something more, a leader, a reformer, a bridge between what the military was and what it could become. The network was destroyed. The guilty were punished. The innocent were vindicated. And somewhere in whatever peace the fallen find, Samuel Olvera was finally resting easy. Because his student had kept her promise. She had finished what he started. She had changed the system. And she had proved once and for all that some old women with gray hair and reading glasses are the most dangerous people in the world. Not because they can kill, but because they refuse to quit.